up high, got no clue. How do I know what I mean to you? Yeah. Say it out loud, spill the truth. Tell me how I'm gonna get close to you. Yeah. High and low, in between, acting out, make a scene. Working on our body language, working on our body language. Baby, now tell me exactly how you feel. I'm just trying to keep it real. Let me love you on the inside, love you on the inside. Yeah. You can bring your friends, we won't mind it. We just came to dance and go all night long. The look in your eyes, you can't hide it. Ooh, baby, I know I turn you on. You can bring your friends, we won't mind it. We just came to dance and go all night long. The look in your eyes, you can't hide it. Ooh, baby, I know I turn you on.
Hello, all of my creatives and my loves. It's Dr. Rachelle Rae Johnson, and we're here for another session, another episode of Real Talk, Self-Love and Relationship. Our topic for tonight is going to be women, sex, and shame. Yes, it's going to be a real topic. We're going to discuss some good things here. Remember, ladies, this is a safe place where we can talk about everything, and we're going to be able to take the information that we need and make it applicable right away. Now, I have some phenomenal guests with me as I am live on site at the Level Up Tour right here in Baltimore, Maryland. And I have today with me Miss Dawn Patterson. She's the author of the book, The V, and she's going to be with me for the opening session. And then I have with me trauma coach, Miss Y. Renee Cooper, who actually is the young lady who is the visionary for Level Up and one of the phenomenal speakers, also Baltimore homegrown, the inspirational, motivational educationist, Mr. Derek Johnson Jr. So I want to bring up, while we have time and be able to talk to her, Miss Dawn Patterson. Dawn.
For having me. Thank you.
How are you, my love?
I am well. Thank you so much. I'm excited.
So glad. Yes. I'm so glad that you are here with us. Now, listen, let's jump into this. I know everybody's waiting to hear what you have to share with us. Now, I have so many questions, but let's start with the first one. Why the V? Tell me, what is it that we need to know about this?
So this book, The V stands for vagina. The protagonist definitely takes us on this quest to finding love. And the book has two voices, and it kind of seems as if it's the protagonist talking throughout the story. But if you listen closely, it's really the V that has the power and has taken over. So I am so connected with this book because it is like, it represents the seeking and the searching, right? And I think that we've all been there before, seeking and searching outside of ourselves. And this protagonist is led by her V. So the V has a strong voice, and that's why I chose the V to be the title.
Wonderful. Now, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you say she was led by the V, when you think about being led by our vaginas,
yeah,
what happens there? What types of decisions are made?
So you're not making things with a clear head, right? I feel like the protagonist in this story, especially, and a lot of women can probably relate to it, is that when we go into relationships and meeting people, we go into it mostly searching for love, right? And she's being led by the V because the decisions that she would probably have normally not made, she's making them because of the V has taken over. Her hormones have taken over. So it's just really about trying to find that balance of love and lust. And her mind and her V in this book is always at war.
Okay. Now, before I go to commercial, I know, Ray, we just started. This is getting good. I have one last question because you said something that resonated with me, and I know it's going to resonate with my audience. Lust and love. There's a delicate balance, but if you had to speak for us through the words in the book, where's the balance? Where do one end and the other one begins so that I have a healthy connection between who I am, what I want, and what I think I should have?
So I feel like in this story, the protagonist and a lot of us, we need to address our adversities. The protagonist in this story addressed her childhood adversities. And then once you get that healthy, once you are healthy and you can think with clarity, then you can make those type of decisions. And then that's when the balance comes in. But you have to do the self-work first, right?
I love it. So before we go, when we come back, this is what I want you to think about, my loves. Sometimes we're making decisions not based off of who we are, what we want, or even how we see ourselves, but we're doing it through the lens of those who have started to craft who we are. And it's not necessarily out of negativity, it's not necessarily out of abuse or anything negative. It may be out of the lens that they see themselves because it was created for them. But we need to figure out where one stops and the other one begins so that there is a healthy relationship between desire and want. Well, actually, that's the same thing. So let me try that again. Between want and need. So let's take a quick commercial break. And then I and Dawn are going to come back. And I have a couple of questions for her. All right, my loves. Hello. Thank you. Welcome back. So we were just talking about the difference between want and need, where that desire can sometimes get in the way between who we are, who we were created to be, who we think we are, and it can push us into some places that are not necessarily healthy for us as we're trying to figure out who we are as sexual beings. And I love this line of conversation. So tell me, we were talking about passages. There were places in the book that you left some things for the women that read it, and even men who are trying to understand the women that they have come in contact with, that they're currently connected to. Tell me what one of those passages are, and share a little bit with us if you wouldn't think it robbery.
As far as like just reading something out of here, or just
if you would pick a passage that speaks to your heart and share it with us.
It gets deep because it is very sensual, and I want to keep it a little rated PG-13, I guess. So I don't have anything pretty much picked out, but I can tell you this, that the protagonist pretty much goes through different men every single week. So it takes you week by week instead of chapter by chapter. And each story is its own individual story. And it literally takes you from the beginning, how she felt, to the end. And it always starts off with love, always. that is her motive. That is what she wants, but she ends up, it doesn't end there. And I think that that's something that women and men too can relate to.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, how did this work its magic on you as you were writing it?
So I write because has a very heavy poetic tone to it. I used to write a lot of poetry, and the reason why I wrote poetry because it was an outlet for me. It was a safe space. So as I'm writing, I always have to come from this emotional standpoint. So I was always sad, and this was a creative way for me to let my emotions out. So, although this is fiction, I can relate to the seeking and the searching because, like the protagonist, I am on that quest and searching for love. And it wasn't until recently that I realized that I needed to pour that into myself first. And that was the healthy balance, the beginning of the healthy balance, I should say.
I love it. I love it. So, we're going to want to be able to not only connect with you and how it was written, to be able to identify ourselves and what was written, but how do we get to your book? Where should we purchase it? Where is it?
Yeah, so it's currently on I Am My City, and hopefully we can put that on here, iammycity.com. I did sell out, so it is on back order, but you can pre-order. Pre-order, please, please, please. Definitely. I would love to hear, people's thoughts on this book because it is a great and amazing read. It truly, truly is. And literally, it's so funny because I'm on week 5 right now, and I was on there earlier, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should read something, but I don't know how we are on time. But
Well, I can tell you this. We are a good NR-17. It's an adult crowd. As
okay,
long as the words don't get colorful,
okay.
then I would say go for it because at this point now, I want to hear it.
So you know what? I'm going to read this because it's sticking out. So this is week 5, and it says, "Please forgive the V." That is the title of it, and it says, "It's like a sickness, addictive to self-destruction. No need to cry. I'll cry for you. My tears fall faster and burn like acid. When I look into the mirror, I see disgust in my eyes. No one respects me. I have nothing to give. My heart breaks in two every time I love, and my head hurts from overthinking everything through. I try not to make any hasty decisions, but I trust too much, too easy, too soon. My biggest mistake was I forgave my neighbor before I forgave my friend. And it gets deep, and it goes into this whole another week. This is another week with another guy who she has fallen in love with. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. I was getting ready to ask you to give me a spin for how the
Okay.
author feels, but I'm going to ask you first. Do you think giving that to me will color the reader? Because as you were reading it, I immediately got a picture
Mhm.
from my understanding, my lens of what that meant. So I want
Yes.
to share to you and the readers. Would you like to give a spin to what that passage means?
I can, but I do like that you and the reader, once you read this book, is going to resonate with who you are today, right? Whenever you're reading anything, it resonates with who you are today, not the future self and not the past self. So I love that. And I love for people to interpret this book and the reads and make it their own. However, in this story, this goes into another relationship where she falls in love with a man who she can't have pretty much. And it got to the point where they were pretty much, or she was made to believe that they were on the same level. And it wasn't the reality of the situation. So, I mean, yeah, it's a great read. And this is probably one of my favorite passages in the book too. One.
Now, what I heard, what started to resonate with me
Mhm.
is unattainable, but on a
Mhm.
different level. I wasn't thinking that they were not matched up, that they couldn't do this, but that it was wanted for a different reason, and maybe it had run its course because there was no course to run.
Yeah.
A lot of times as women, especially when we aren't able to really articulate our needs for whatever reason, fear of rejection, fear of isolation, fear of misunderstanding, fear of thinking we're going to be misrepresented by our words or the perception, whatever the case may be. And as you can see, my thought process is all surrounded by fear. We go with the flow because I'd rather have something than be left by myself with nothing.
Yeah.
And now it has run a course. And now I'm left with shoulda, coulda, woulda. And that was what I heard.
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking, did you really want to put a spin? Because the correlation that I make here with reading books, because I love books, is when we try to make it into a movie. Listen, authors make your money.
Yeah.
But when we put it into a movie, I think we remove for some readers that intimacy of, but this is not how I interpret it. That's not what it meant to me.
Wow.
So one last question, my love.
Yeah.
Have you thought about, it's the brand in me. That's what I do. That's my bread and butter. Have you thought about book clubs, readings where you actually lead and deliver through your message?
Yes, I have, and I would love to get started. I am not the best marketing person, obviously, right now, but I am learning. And yes, I would love to get into that for sure. And that is something that's on the agenda for sure.
Okay. Well, shameless plug. I hear collaboration, so don't go anywhere.
Okay.
But is there anything that you want to share? One last thing you want to let the audience know, you want to let the ladies know, because this is definitely a self-love read.
Yeah. Well, one thing, this story, if it doesn't show you or teach you anything other than just love yourself, right? Self-love, and you're not alone. We all are seekers and searchers at some point in our lives. So this is all a journey for sure.
Yes, yes. And if I could add anything, start, ladies, with yourself.
Yes.
For my guys that hang in there with us and support us on the journey, start with yourself. And don't be afraid. Hearing no, hearing I don't think so, saying no, these are okay words. Because if I give a false yes, if I pretend this is all right, the satisfaction leads discontent, which leads anger and frustration. And the flip side of love is anger and hate. And then we start to destroy ourselves and each other. Dawn, thank you. I appreciate you coming to share. If you want to hang out as we do the rest of the segments, please do.
Absolutely.
I would love it. I would love it. So it's time for another commercial break. Don't judge me. We have to pay the bills. So we're going to go into our break, and we'll see you when we get back. YouTube. Hello, hello. We are back. Now, I told you guys that I was on site. So you're getting a little bit more here than we expected. I have with me a sex doula. Now, I don't know if that is familiar to you because it was new to me. And I know about doulas, but I didn't know birth doulas, but I didn't know about sex doulas. And I'm interested to hear some more. Now, before she comes and shares what she's going to share, because she's physically in my space, everybody's physically in my space, but we're spread out. But she's right next to me. We're going to talk about some things. I'm going to ask her some questions. Look, I told y'all, I'm bringing all the tools that you need so we can have that self-love, so we can build relationships. And if forever and ever amen is what your goal is, we're going to get you there. And if you're already there, we're going to make sure that that's a beautiful experience for you. But wherever you are in your process, we're going to make sure that you are powerful and successful in your process and those who share it with you. But I want to bring on my other two guests. So we have Miss Y. Renee Cooper, and we also have Mr. Derek Johnson Jr. So, and of course, Miss Dawn came back with us. How are you, my loves?
Outstanding. Thank you. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. So,
Hey, Dr.
for
Rachelle.
hello. For these next three segments, we're going to go over relationship. Those relationships that can be casual or become serious, because those are the places where once we really understand self-love, we can then get to a place where Derek, hey, let's hang out. How you doing? Let's get to know each other. Renee, you like this too. I like this too. And we start to build in a place where I let you know who I am. You let me know who you are. And I'm okay with you checking me. Rachelle, that's not good. That's how you feel. Oh, no, that doesn't work for you. Sometimes I let you check me. Sometimes I can get a little defensive. But then we start to build those relationships where we're going to be a little bit more intimate. I'm going to let you a little bit more in my space. We're going to drop those walls and we get a little more loving than friendly. But again, if I want to get to that forever and ever amen, then whatever union looks like to us, we get to that place. So I want to talk about friendship and relationship right now. So we tend to meet people that have an unhealthy view of themselves. But I want to specifically talk about sex and shame. I did some research and this is what I realized, Renee. Women won't be honest about what they want and how they feel. We've been taught that a lady projects a certain image of herself. Why, Derek? Because we were told that a man won't marry a certain type of woman. He only want to play around with a certain woman. So now we have to decide, do we want to satisfy our needs or do we want to be married? So I want to know how we really feel about that, because then we get married and we don't know what we want. And then when we discover it, should I tell him or do I keep performing the way a lady performs? And now I'm not happy, so I can't really make him happy. And now it's Tuesday night and we got 45 minutes and then we done and we can go back to life. I'm just saying what people be thinking. Oh no, that was your opportunity to jump in
Oh,
there
my
and tell
bad.
me.
I wanted to wait to make sure we were perfectly clear and clean. I mean, clear, so I could say what I wanted to say. You
Jump in
know,
there. Jump in there.
so this is how I feel about it. Of course, being someone who was married and divorced, I learned a lot of things, and I'm not afraid to say my age. So, being on this earth now, 51 years, I have learned some things, and I had to learn myself. And what I did find out is when you talk about that cliche about men want certain women, want to marry certain women, but want to play around with others. The other old saying is that a man wants a freak in the bedroom, but a lady in the streets. How do I become a freak in the bedroom if I don't even know me? How do I become a freak in the bedroom if I don't understand what I like and what you like? And most men, and this is not trying to be derogatory towards men. Most men don't necessarily know how to satisfy a woman because the woman doesn't know what she wants. And then when you start exploring things, or we start reading stuff, or even if we decide to step off into the porn world, which is not necessarily the right world to step into, when we step off into look into those things to try to learn ourselves, or learn what we may or may like by trying to experiment, if we try to experiment with our partners without actually having the communication or the conversation, now they think we stepped out on them. Now they think that we doing stuff that we don't have no business doing. Now they trying to figure out where we learned this trick at. And that's where I think the real problem lies, is not necessarily with the acts, but with the lack of communication pertaining to the acts.
Listen, I don't have all the facts, so I'm not going to speak on it factually. I'm just going to say that there was a particular writer that I heard of, and many of us fell in love with, that was writing sultry novels under a surname, and nobody understood why. Well, she had a family. Her husband found out and supposedly divorced her because she was hiding money, but she never spent the money. The books was an outlet for her. So it came out later, and again, I don't know all the facts, but it came out later that he was upset because who is this woman writing such stuff? But this is not what we do at home. Because baby was afraid to say, these are my thoughts, these are my feelings, this is what I want to do. But his thought was, well, you got to be getting it from somewhere. Yes, imagination. Give me the courage to say, hey, boo, let's turn the lights out or turn the lights on and really go. I'm being facetious, but it doesn't matter how adventurous I want to be. Let me do it, and let me do it with you without you being so suspicious. Now, Derek, don't leave it up to us because we can just go. From
No,
a male's perspective, what do you think?
those are great points, and it's a very interesting topic. What I would like to, I guess, say is, of all of us having more of time to ourselves so that we know ourselves, I believe that we all should be a walking manual so that when we meet new people, we should have no reservations about expressing who we are. Our influences definitely go in, to how we do those things. But I believe at some point in life we have to remove ourselves from those distractions, if you will. I believe that, I would say for myself, I was told what to think growing up. And this is a part of my story where I literally had to remove myself from my loved ones and my environment to just be still. And to really know myself, I had to seek myself. And a lot of things that I learned, I had to unlearn. And that was my own personal journey. And I think everyone's entitled to their own personal journey and spiritual journey. So when I meet someone, I'm just all on the line because I know myself. Because I don't really subscribe to the love people how you want to be loved. I love people how they want to be loved. And that goes is geared to who they are. So if I love someone based off of a friendship that eventually develops into intimacy and having a serious relationship, I have to study that person. But a lot of the study and in a lot of the notes I'm getting from that person. So I could really uniquely love them according to who they are. So I really want a person to be who they are, to give me a mindset of what I need and where I am in life, if I'm willing to take on that and let you know from the jump. Like you said, doctor, you want someone who's going to basically shoot from the hip, for lack of a better word. People say it, but they really don't mean it. And this is from my own personal experience. Me personally, I'm not caught up in how a person's going to feel, because that's based off an assumption on how they'll feel based off my truth. My one obligation is to be honest with myself and who I'm standing before. So I believe that goes with both parties, or whoever's involved in that particular situation, that they have to be honest with themselves first. Have those lonely nights, have them nights where they're just by themselves, seeking themselves. So when they're ready to stand before the world, this is me. Here I stand.
I love it. I love it. So before I bring up Miss Shantae McKinney, Because again, I know I'm not the only person. If you don't know what a sex doula is, it just like, do we deliver the sexual experience? Like what a sex doula? Like I'm not making fun. I got questions. But one of the things I love, and I can be, kind of transparent. I don't want to put all my freaky sneaky out there no more than anybody else do. I got a business. I got children. But but it took me a long time to get rid of the mindset of not just the ladies in my uplink, but even, the, all right, let me go ahead and put my fishnets on in my uplink because they all wanted me to be a certain lady. So I had to figure out what was them and what was me so I could make my own decisions and my own mistakes. And unlike Renee, I do have a problem putting my age out there. So at the right old age of 25, now, if they can do new math, so can I. So my child is 30, I'm 25, judge yourself. But nonetheless, I'm now at an age where I'm like, no, I don't like that. Yes, I do like this. Okay, let's try this until I figure out, no, you crazy. But it took me a long time to open my mouth. So I felt like the little chick on Coming to America. Well, what do you like? Whatever you like, my highness. Where do you want to go? Wherever you say you want to go, my highness. And then we get mad when you ran into the wrong type of situation, like it was their fault. No, it was my fault because I didn't know who Dr. Rachelle Rae Johnson was.
Mm-hmm.
And I allowed other people to imprint who she should be.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not about, you're wrong, they're right, they're wrong, you're right. This is about finding your right and having the courage to share it. Because this is my opinion. If I can't share it with you, then I can't share it with you. So I'm going to bring up Miss Shantae McKinney. And first, sweetheart, you got to tell me what a sex doula is. Like, what are you delivering? How does it happen? Like, she wants to talk to us about pleasure. So, and I'm scared about that too. So, come on, sweetheart, tell me what it is.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Shantae. My niche as a sex doula is womb balancing. So there's a lot of things you can do in being a sex doula. Like some people like to do the toys, some people like to do certain positions, some people like to dominate, some people don't like to dominate. There's a lot of things you can do as a sex doula.
This is not makeup. This is a real blush. Okay, go ahead.
So I have to be mindful of our ratings because I'm a little bit more upfront and outspoken, so forgive me for my pauses. Pleasure points. So there's a book called, I'm gonna say Peak Pleasure.
Okay.
But it's the actual word.
Yeah.
Okay, so
they talk about Tootsie.
Yeah, Tootsie Pleasure. There we go. She got it.
I understood the assignment.
So in this book, the author talks about how we need to focus on, as women, we need to focus on pleasing ourselves. And a lot of us in general, male and female, we misconstrue what pleasure looks like because we're so used to going to another person to seek our pleasure. We're so used to going to another person to identify what pleasure is for us and how we feel good about ourselves. Not just intimately, but overall in general. Like we can put on the flyest outfit and we know we look good, but if don't nobody tell us we look good, then you know what, I'm gonna go back outside because ain't enough people seeing me. So you still looking for outside pleasure.
Just stop. I put it on for a reason.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We put it on for a reason. We put it on for us, but in hindsight, we're actually seeking that pleasure for somebody else. Cologne, a perfume that smells good to us, and we're waiting for someone to say, "Oh, you smell good," instead of just acknowledging, like, "Hey, my pleasure comes from within." As long as I can look at myself in the mirror and be happy with who's looking back at me, as long as I can wave or walk past the fan, I know that what I'm putting on smells good, I look good, I feel good. That's a pleasure point.
Okay.
And
Okay.
one thing that I had a debate with a gentleman about not too long ago is a lot of our desire, 99% of our desire starts in the genitals. And the people are like, wait, so you mean to tell me because I desire food, it starts in my genitals? Yes, that is the place where you create. That is the place where you crave. That is where your energy flows for life, for likings, for want.
See, I was gonna make a fluffy joke. But Renee, I ain't gonna do that right now. I'm gonna just let that go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You can go.
No. I'm just gonna leave that right there. Okay, go ahead.
So yes, a lot of your desire and your pleasure is not just intimate. It is an overall experience. And how dare you ask someone to please you, don't know how to please yourself.
All right. I love it. Okay, so my new best friend, she will most likely, definitely, is going to happen. Be back and tell people if they really needed assistance with a sex doula, somebody that helps them understand beyond the physical. Because if I'm understanding correctly, to understand the mental, to get rid of the shame.
Yes.
Of desire.
Yes.
Of understanding your pleasure self. Because it's real, your pleasure self. How could they reach you?
I am on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat.
I hope under one handle. What is it?
So because I couldn't do my Instagram got hacked. So I had to change my Instagram to Woman Fly. But everywhere else I'm Mrs. Shante. Or just for Shante King, because they're all connected.
Now spell your first name. You know I ain't regular Shante. Come on. She is killing the brander in me. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
It's SHANTAY. And last name is completely different as well. MCKENNIE.
Okay, so my wonderful producer is going to put that up. Do it again for her.
SHANTAY. Last name is MCKENNIE. Before I sign off, I want to share one real quick shocker tip that a lot of us don't think about. Wish I could Google it, of course, but I can't. So naturally, we can. Make it work.
Don't come to my same side.
It's just an example. Don't get me. I'm just a messenger. So naturally, this is a male. This is a female. We are nurturers as women. So whatever a man gives to us, we then turn around and produce into a better state.
Multiply. Come on through. Listen, if you give it to me, I'm gonna give it back better and double.
But here's the thing in that.
Well, multiply. Go ahead.
Here's the thing in that. If a man is not full within himself and knowing his own personal pleasures, he's going to give you what he thinks you want. And what you want may not necessarily align with what you need. So therefore, you're in turn naturally going to give him what he has given you. And that creates an even bigger friction in your relationship.
Come on through. Sex doula. Okay. My producer is probably like, look, get just your whole self together. Okay, listen, I hope you're getting what you need. Ladies, again, this is a safe place. We have fun, we cut up, because it is my belief that laughter, humor, and love brings deliverance. But I want to hear what is being said. I want you to understand it. I want you to get the tools that you need. Because when we say women and sex, shame should not be attached. And if we're going to really come together, if we're going to receive and get what we need in order to multiply and give it back, then we got to get this thing right. Okay? Whether it's for one night or if it's forever. No judgment, safe space. So we're going to go to our next commercial, and then we're going to come back and we're going to start talking freely, give you some good stuff. And then, unfortunately, we're going to let you go to reflect so you can share with other people, and we can come back strong next time. See you in just a moment.
bad bitch? Are you a bad bitch? Are you a bad bitch? Is you a savage? Well, whether you are a bad bitch or a savage or whatever you want to call yourself, I am here to talk to you today about a book called Bad Bitches and Perfect Pitches that is authored by Precious Williams. One of the biggest differences between you and your competition in any facet of your life is the fact that they know how to effectively communicate and you don't. See, in this world, you don't have to be the smartest, you don't have to be the prettiest, you don't have to have the most money, but you do have to be able to sell yourself. Now, Precious Williams comes from the inner city of St. Louis, and she, in her book, has shown you how to elevate your life by using the gift of gab. Now, Precious Williams' book has been featured on Forbes, CNN, LinkedIn, Black Enterprise, and more. It can be found at www.perfectpitches by Precious. Now go ahead and buy today so you can be on your way to being a bad bitch with the perfect pitch.
All right, we're back. Listen, this is what we're going to do in this next session. I always want my guests to let me know how they're feeling, what they're doing, and things that have happened that are going to help you. Just like a good book, Dawn. When we put something out there and they can resonate and see themselves in the story, then they can take really what they need. So not only do we want to educate and inspire and motivate, but we want to take you on the with us so that you can see yourself. So I told y'all we live on site. So we had some of the speakers in here setting up, and I'm going to put them on blast. Curtis just knocked down a whole set of banners, okay? So that's what the noise was in the back and why the guys are laughing so hard. But that's what happens when you are filming live on set. Now, this is my question. We have all, at this point in our lives, been in some type of romantic relationship, whether it's been successful or it's not been so successful. But what I want you guys to do is think back in the recesses of your mind. And I want you to find one or two that has shaped you. Again, whether it has helped you catapult to a more positive relationship stance. I know myself. I know how to take what I've been given and now go to the next place, or it pushed you back in a shell. This is what happens when I try to say what I want. This is what happens when I try to share what I need and tell us about it. But not just tell us about it like rehashing it. Tell us about it so we know how you grew from that moment so that we know what we can do. And I'm not going to call your names.
I'll go first. You know me. I'm the transparent one for real because I will tell all the tea. So for me, I discovered myself after my divorce. And the reason being was, one, I dated young, got married somewhat young, but I was really, really overweight. And so was my ex. During like the gradually through our relationship, we gained more and more weight. And for anybody, and this is just Renee 1-1, this ain't everybody. For me, it became difficult to perform because of the weight and because I have asthma. And it was certain things, couldn't breathe. I felt like I was trapped because there were only limited positions that made me uncomfortable. I still didn't know myself. So surviving everything that I survived, because again, Rachelle, you know my story, being a domestic abuse survivor. I was also kind of bound in bondage during that thing too. And once I got out and I decided to start dating again, of course, not trying to necessarily look for marriage. I just wanted to satisfy a fleshly desire or a fleshly need. For me, it was, I started having fun. And you know how you had those epiphanies like, oh my God, you could do this? Oh my God, that happens when you do that? Oh, wait. I didn't know that could happen. Wait, you mean that if I put this way and I turn this way, man, come on. So I actually did a whole bunch of self-exploration, did some extracurricular activities that I won't discuss per se on here, because we got to keep PG-13.
Y'all
But
keep saying PG-13. I keep telling y'all NR-17. Like, let it rip. Girl, tell them where
so
you went.
okay, so
Tell them to play ground.
if I have a following on here, you all forgive me, but again, I'm 51. I'm grown. I'm grown and grown. And when I got divorced, I was grown and grown then too. I had to explore and do some things. So, one of the things when we talked about the beginning of the segment was how we get labeled by, not being that perfect woman or that woman that does not explore. And what I realized is, again, to find myself, I had to explore. And, that whole thing about, women having multiple partners or women dating several people is taboo. I think that's a bunch of garbage. I think that, not saying that I'm dating, that every time I date that I'm having sex. However, if I'm adult enough to make the decision to know what the consequences or the repercussions may be, then I'm adult enough to decide what I want to do and not feel in bondage again by afraid of being judged, by being titled as a whore, or by being titled as somebody's being promiscuous, when men can do as many times they want, whenever they want, how many, and then have the nerve, the audacity
The audacity.
to decide that they want somebody who maybe not necessarily a virgin anymore, because I'm not going to say them days are over, because I know there are still women out there that keep themselves, but they want somebody who is less experienced than they are, or that they feel that if I have too many notches on my belt, then I'm the one with the issue. But however, again, I go back to my first statement. They want a freak in the bed, but a lady in the streets. How do you expect me to be freaky if you're not the one teaching me? And again, now that I'm 51 years old, I know you don't think that I've only had the one partner that I was married with. Some people do that. But again, I'm being honest and transparent, and I know how to open my mouth now because of me being in bondage during my marriage. And I could tell you what I like and what I don't like. And I could tell you what makes me feel good, while at the same time ask you what makes you feel good. Because if we can't satisfy each other, then, and it's one-sided, somebody's going to be disappointed. Somebody's going to decide that they may want to find relations elsewhere, which causes the problem again of lack of communication and breaking down of a relationship.
Okay. Now listen, I want to push back on just one thing. And not push back because I mean that's your point, that's yours. I'm not fooling with that. But I have some Christians in the audience, some I know personally, and that I have conversation with every time this is over. Them Christians. What I like to always say is I don't have a heaven or hell to put anybody in. And if God doesn't take free will, neither can I. So if you ask me a question and you want to know my take one way or the other, then I'm definitely going to open up the manual and I'm going to give you an address and tell you my interpretation, but I'm going to encourage you to read it. So with that being said, I agree 100%. I'm not labeling anybody. It is your choice and you need to take it up with God if you feel one way or the other. Because my understanding, my interpretation is he loves the sinner, but not the sin. And wherever you decide that you need to be in multiple situations during this time or always, I have a child out of wedlock and I like a good piece of chicken. All of it is the same thing. So I'm not about to, oh yeah, we go on the fluffy all the time because I like fluffy too. Ain't nobody slept with an anorexic, nobody laying on an anorexic pillow. Hello, Mr. Magic. So at the same time, I also want to push back in the area. This is where I want to push back. As women, we'll always say things around the term of if a guy can. And I understand that they always make us feel like, well, of course he can. But what man said, I can? That's what I'm starting to listen to. Like, we had a long conversation, you, I, and Derek the other day. And at no point did he say, I could do this, I can do this, I can do this. Shame on a woman for doing that. Now, Renee, I'm not picking on anything you said at all. You know how we are. But I want women to change their mindset. We're not competing with them for the permission to do what we want to do. We're competing with the thought that came from somewhere, and we probably won't even be able to track it, that we can't because we're not a male. I don't know where that came from, but we got to get rid of that. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Absolutely.
ma'am.
One,
And
I
that
just said I was 25, but go ahead, Derek.
I
I'm sorry.
wholeheartedly agree with that, and it goes into the whole unlearn to relearn. Who said that? What I had to learn was I'm a servant at heart. So in my prior relationship, that's all my mind is on go, aiming to please. Oh, this is what you like. Oh, just keeping my head down and focusing on my partner. What I learned was it's okay to decommit. However, you know that person and rarely say it. If we have an agreement, you can hold me accountable based on what we agreed upon. If I'm just acting differently, uh, other than what we agreed upon, then that's for me to really own that. So what I it's okay to feel differently if the circumstances are different. I'm very, very apologetic when it comes to me knowing what I want in a person, and who I am as a man, and based on the time that I've spent with myself and knowing what I want. And when those things change, it's up to me to let that person know, what those changes are, and really not being preoccupied with how they're going to feel. Of course, being tactful is one thing that I definitely want to be mindful of, but being honest is at the forefront.
I love it. I love it. All right, guys, we gotta pay the bills again. So we're going to stop for commercial. We're going to jump back, and then we're going to finish up this panel. I know it's real good, and I'll see you in just a moment.
I've been doing this for 30 years, and I still love what I do. Opening up this salon. Looking forward to all the wonderful, beautiful women that I make feel good after I'm done here. I have a great team. I have 6 amazing stylists along with 1 esthetician. So if you're looking for a professional environment and professional stylist, Hairshin is your place. We're located at 25284 Evergreen Road, just north of 10 Mile in Southfield, the fabulous downtown Southfield. So give us a call at 248-799-9963. We're looking forward to servicing you.
Oh, I love it, Rodney. Thank you. Yes.
I gotta tell you something I could do. I could be running around chasing you, but I won't, 'cause I got better things to do.
Hold on.
Hello. We're back. So, Miss Dawn, I said I wasn't gonna call anybody, but you trying to sit back there quietly on me, and I don't want you to get away without saying anything. Any moments in a relationship, you don't only reveal what you want to reveal, that helped you solidify who you are, or made you reflect, this is not who I want to be. Something that you can share with us so that the listeners, the audience will know, I see me in that.
Yeah. I can tell you about a relationship, but there's been plenty of times where when you think that you have this epiphany and this awakening, and you're just at a different state of mind, you're kind of taken to another level once it happens again in a different way, right? It's just all a journey. However, there's one relationship that sticks out. I mean, we were together for about 5 years, and it was verbally abusive. It was just very toxic and unhealthy. And I felt like I was bending, right? And I left before I was broken. And after when I removed myself from the situation is when I realized mostly that it had been toxic throughout the entire relationship, and the signs were there. It's just that, like we talked about earlier, it's just like who's making the decisions, and are you in a healthy mental space to make better choices? And I realized I wasn't, because I just wanted to be in this relationship really bad, right? But yeah, after I separated myself from the relationship, I definitely got just a different version of myself that I'm very proud of. And is brought me to this point. And I probably wouldn't have gotten here had I been still with this person.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love you guys. I do. I enjoy every segment I do. I enjoy the people that I'm doing it with. Sometimes they're friends, sometimes they're people, colleagues, sometimes they're people I just met. They're people that I don't know and I get to know by doing this. But I want to say this is one of the most fun that I've had doing this. And I don't even know if it's because it's a segment that meant so much to me. Has an opportunity to work the way I do. I actually meet a lot of people, and when they start to trust you with their business and you start to build relationships, some of them will actually start to trust you with their life. And I see a theme, and it all starts with, I don't know who I am. So I thought of something that I wanted to say before we close. And is Shantae still here? Shantae, would you come talk to me, please? Shantae? Would you come talk to me, please, and help me end this? One of the things I realized was this, and there are things that help me along the way know who Ray is. She's my alter ego. Again, don't judge me. Having male friends that I could trust, that don't want anything from me other than to love me and let me love them, helped me figure out who I was as a person and as a female, because I could tell them things that confused me when it came to relational things. Okay. Understanding that beauty really is in the eye of the beholder, because we tend to compare ourselves. Oh, my legs aren't long enough. I'm not dark enough. I'm not light enough. My hair isn't long enough. It's not nappy enough. It's not fine enough. And then we look at people who have those characters that we believe we want, and we go, they don't have no problem doing this. I bet you when they were such and such and so, that person ain't saying this to them. And it's not true. And then not only are we demonizing that person and make it harder, because we can feel when somebody is giving us shade. So we're not only making it harder for that sister, but then we're keeping ourselves in a place where it's even harder for us to discover who we are because of projection and perception. But then the other thing is, we'll have a good friend that has some information, but because we are so afraid of saying, well, I'm a big girl, so I can do this. Yeah, Renee, I'm stealing. I can do this and I can do this. But that's not always doing what I need for somebody to say, oh, girl, look. And I just found this out. Don't talk about me. They had pillars, y'all. They got pillars that prop up stuff, lean on stuff, let you lean on stuff, do stuff that you can't do. Did you say chairs? There's a chair. Oh, I heard of that. Yeah, okay. So see, we're gonna talk offline, and I know some of y'all gonna reach out to her. But what I'm trying to say to you is, don't limit yourself. And I got that honestly from looking at Dawn. Dawn is a model. Derek is a guy. And Renee is adventurous. And all of them are in my circle. But if I'm not comfortable enough with Ray to even ask the question, I can't get comfortable enough with Ray to do the things I need to do to explore Rachelle, to even really know what I want and what I like. So then when I get into a real relationship, I become the chick from Coming to America. And then we frustrated and mad down the line because he like, I could have just stayed out there at home. I was at least getting what I wanted and having some adventure. I know I'm making light, but it's a real thing. In about a minute and a half, what can we tell them?
Self-pleasure is a journey. It's fun. Don't be ashamed because you find points in yourself that help you communicate. I like this. No, I don't like that. And it also opens up doors for you to be able to communicate without words to each other. So then you don't have to say, no, don't do this. You can move a little bit. You can groove a little bit, and he's going to groove with you. And always remember when you find that flow with your partner, 3 times. 3 times is the best time. Every time is a charm.
All right, all right. So when I move, you move. Just like that. All right, my loves and my creators. Last commercial, and then I'll come back and say bye properly. All right, my loves and all my creatives, I want to thank you for joining me today, and thank you to my guests, Miss Dawn Patterson, Miss Y. Renee Cooper, Mr. Derek Johnson Jr., and to Miss Shantae McKinney. Listen, you never know how you're going to be surprised on this show and who's going to show up to share with us. Don't forget me next month on July 22nd, which is the 4th Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, and we'll be here for an entire hour. Now, also, don't forget, on the 5 F's of Love channel, it's not just Dr. Rae, but you have your boys, your guys talking real smack and giving you entertainment and everything from a male's perspective on the first Friday. You got the girls coming together on the second Friday, and on the third Friday, everything and every perspective from special interests and all the things that we want to know about fashion, about party, about love, about politics when it comes to that entire community of love. And then your girl is back. So I want you to join me then. The 5 F's of Love channel. Everything you need in one place. All right, my loves. Until next time, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
My name is Christine Burkett, the inventor of the 5 F's to Love. This is a compatibility app. It's an app that gives you an opportunity to rate words that start with the letter F in chronological order of importance to you, to help you find your one true love, your soulmate, and the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So after you've taken the time to rate your F's in chronological order, you send a link to the person, I don't know, you just met, or the person you've been dating for quite some time. Or maybe it's the person you've been married to for 30 to 40 to 50 years. And then you compare your top 5 F's to find out what things you have in common and things that you may perhaps need to work on. This is taking a simplistic perspective on how to find your one true love, your soulmate, the person you're going to spend the rest